What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another chance encounter. Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. We're seeing more properties like this being built in front of a house that's going to be torn down soon. I understand that there are power lines that are getting kind of close. What's up again? This is Dan Fredenberg, and that there is a commercial real estate building. I'm joined today with Jeff Greenberg. How you doing today, Jeff?
I'm doing fantastic today, Dan. Just fantastic.
Excellent, excellent. And I got some great news for you, Jeff. Today we are joined with my favorite audience member. And why is my favorite audience member here? Because this is a chance encounter where I interview commercial real estate syndicators. That means buyers, sellers, investors, fund managers like Jeff Greenberg. And why do I do this silly thing of talking to all these people? Well, if you've ever heard of a 506B deal or an off-market deal or a private deal, it means that if you want to talk about it, you have to first have a documented prior substantive relationship. And that's a lot of what we're doing right here today is we're making sure that we know how to express ourselves in terms of commercial real estate deals and how we fit into them. But before we get into all that kind of stuff, Jeff, do you want to say a thing or two about yourself before we get into your business?
Well, just a little of my history. I'm a recovering syndicator, been syndicating multifamily and student housing for the past 12 years until I realized that the part that I liked best was working with investors. And so then I got into managing funds and helping investors get into quality deals.
I love it. I love it. And the first segment that we have here is the distinct motivations. But before we get to that, I got to say, but wait, check your eight. Jeff, I don't know if you can see through your camera and into the audience's devices, but down there at their eight, there might be this awful subscribe button that they haven't done. Okay, sorry, it's a stupid joke. I always have to do it though. But anyway, the five distinct motivations. Now, I've spoken to all sorts of different commercial real estate syndicators and investors and whatnot, and we all have our own unique whys. But I found that at the end of the day, they kind of go into these five different baskets here. And so I need to know what motivation will actually bring somebody to go through with a deal, because they can take months. There's all sorts of risks involved. And this will, in a quick way, show exactly what I need to know. So the first reason why some people make their next acquisition is because they want to preserve their purchasing power. What does that mean? They've already got a portfolio of assets, and the proceeds of that from that portfolio is how they make ends meet. The only reason why they're going to make another acquisition is if inflation is eating away at the purchasing power of the cash flow, or if they're buying at a steep discount, like when there's an asset crash going on. And that is not what I have going on personally. What I'm doing is I'm trading time directly for wealth, because I've got this background in technology, specifically CRMs. It was all the mass email marketing, but also the credit card transactions online for different .com businesses. But what hit me, I started working in the real estate sector in 2014 for a guy who was flipping 10 houses a month. And I got to thinking, well, hang on, like, how do I pivot away from right now being a high wage earner, high salary earner, where like half of it's going to tax anyway? How do I pivot so I'm getting rewarded in the form of equity or deployed capital? That's why I'm in this. But that's a little bit too abstract for some people, and more what they're after is fast tracking retirement or owning back their own schedule. Now, maybe that means working fewer months per year or fewer weeks per month or something like that. But the idea is to dial back, and that's why they're making their next acquisitions. But other people, it's more an ambition thing. It's more a legacy thing. They want to buy their whole hometown or something. They want to make sure that their great grandchildren never have to hold a day job, and that's why they make their acquisitions. And they're going to be hustling into their 90s, so they're fantastic additions to any team. But they're a little bit different from this last group, where they've picked a sector of society, or maybe it's the environment or animals or something like that, and they realize that they need a big financial backing if they're really going to make a big impact, and that's why they're making these commercial acquisitions. So Jeff, of those 5 different motivations, like which of those resonated with you? What do you think describes you best?
Well, my motivation always was, well, first to have some funds in retirement since I was going through a divorce, but then it went on to leaving a legacy for my family, to hand something down to my family to help them out, to help them with their lives.
I love it. I love it. And that brings me to the next question is that, lots of people get attracted to this industry because they see lots of zeros in the transactions. But the one thing that came up to me, and just so you know where the model for this whole format came from, if you've ever filled out the questionnaire, the financial questionnaire to do a 506B syndication, the one that securities attorneys insist you fill out, the questions are pretty invasive. It's more than like I know about my parents' financial situation, for example. It's a lot of stuff. But the one question that I thought it didn't really do a great job of doing was the question about risk tolerance. So I included a little variation of it in this interview. It's a fill in the blank. So Jeff, there are many popular investment asset classes, but I think blank is too risky. What's too risky for you? It can be inside real estate, outside real estate.
If I was going to stay inside real estate, I won't invest in restaurants that are not a franchise, and even a franchise, I probably wouldn't be real interested. But mom and pop restaurants, majority of them fail, and I would not invest in those.
I love that answer, especially because of my segue to the next segment here. That was not planned. That was really something. It's something I've been running for a while. I'm so glad I subbed. It just kills me. But it's the segue into the dandoesdeals.com commercial core competency cube. You can try saying that a few times. But anyway, it has the 6 different roles in a commercial deal. And I go through all 6 of them in every episode of Chance Encounters. And the reason for that is this way you learn how to effectively communicate on the subject of a commercial real estate deal, and you understand how my guest fits into those deals. But if you want your own copy, you go to dandoesdeals.com. It's absolutely free, and like a complete dummy, I don't even ask for your email address, which is, from a marketing perspective, it's the worst thing you could ever do, giving away the freebie and not even asking for some contact information. But I didn't want anything getting in your way from downloading this, printing it out, practicing it on your friends and family. And I go through it in every episode of Chance Encounters. It just takes 2 minutes. And I start off with the repositioner. The repositioner looks at a bunch of different properties. They're the acquisitions person, and they've got all this paperwork. What is that paperwork, you may ask? What are they doing? Well, there's a fancy word for it. They're underwriting the deal. That means they're doing the math. They're doing the arithmetic. They're figuring out, first of all, is this property even actually making the amount of money that the seller or broker claims it is? So the repositioner is the acquisitions person figuring that part out. But when they're doing that deep dive into the numbers, the reason why they're called repositioners is because they're figuring out how can they change how the business is run so that they can find more upside. And one way that everybody does that, Jeff is a fund manager, so I'd count him as a financier in most capacities at least. But the financiers, the lenders in general, they're the people who only deal with paper and money. And repositioners have to be very well networked with financiers, because if they can get a more advantageous loan, that goes straight to the profitability of the business. So that's a part of their business, but it's a little bit unconventional to some people. So the first place that the repositioner is probably going to look is operations. They're stopping those Benjamins from going down the toilet. But of course, there's more to operations than just unclogging toilets and mowing lawns and collecting rent. Me, for example, one thing that I contribute to my GP team on the operations side is that if we ever have a problem with our third-party management and we have a vacancy rate problem, you need somebody with some marketing chops to hop in and help out. And so that's one thing that I do. The other thing is just the CRM and automation in general. But really, operations, because commercial real estate is so competitive, it's probably not going to have enough upside for the repositioner. So they're going to get a contractor team in. And what's that all about? That's called a value add or renovations. If you make the units nicer, then the next resident will be happy to pay more in rent than the previous one. So that's why people get these contractors involved. But of course, I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm from the internet. So that means I also need locals. You need boots on the ground who can keep an eye on the contractors, make sure they're not taking too long or they're using subgrade parts. And then also the operations, make sure they're doing what they're supposed to. But once the repositioner has that team put together, they turn around to financiers like Jeff and they say, hey, Jeff, I got this deal. It's 350 units. It's tens of millions of dollars. You don't happen to have, say, I don't know, tens of millions of dollars you want to lend us, do you? Well, one thing you're going to have to say if you want a loan from a bank or something like that is they're going to ask this question right here. Who's your sponsor KP? So the scenario is, let's say you're an engineer, you're a physician, something like that, and you and your pals decide to pool your resources to take over a commercial property. What's standing in your way? Well, the bank's going to require that you have somebody in the fold who already owns a similar asset. Okay, so if you're buying 350 unit apartment complexes, somebody in the fold has to already own a 350 unit apartment complex. Then on top of that, you need among the ownership team a balance sheet of at least the amount of the loan and a certain amount of liquidity. But if you got all that, you got a commercial real estate deal. So Jeff, you are, as I said before, a fund manager. You can talk a little bit about that if you want, but that's a financier role. Have I got you right, or is there more that you want to add to how you fit in?
No, I mean, that's mainly what it is. I'm part of the financing because typically there's debt along with equity. Mm-hmm. Debt is typically your less expensive piece, but the more difficult to get. And then the equity is more expensive, but typically you're bringing in passive investors to provide that equity piece. So there's two different pieces to that, the financial end of it.
I love that answer. Thanks for that. So my next question, though, it's normally we go through the buy box. And when commercial investors are talking about your buy box, saying what's your ideal property, something like that, when it comes to your next acquisition, we're really asking about three things. First one's geography. Where is it? That means which states, which counties, possibly even which neighborhood. Okay, that's going to matter. The second one's going to be the size. Now, most of the people who come on as my guests on Chance Encounters are in multifamily, which means that's apartment complexes. And the way that you talk about the size in apartment complexes is by unit count, because you're going to have a different kind of group taking over the 5-unit apartment complexes compared to the 150-unit apartment complexes. So that size definitely does matter. But the third one everybody calls class. I don't like it when people use one word for two different things, but I'll separate class into two different words then. The first one's condition, and that means like how old is it? Is it beat up? Is it basically in good shape, but or does it have lots of amenities and it's lots of luxuries and things that are included? Okay, so that's condition. But the other one is the area, and that has to do with what's the crime rate like where the property is located, where are the school districts like where the property is located, and then of course how many people go by that location in a given day. And both of those two parts of class are rated with the same system as in grade school, where you got A plus at the top, and then A, and then A minus, and then B plus, and so on. So Jeff, I get the impression, especially as a fund manager, you more get the relations with the sponsors so that you can source good deals. But do you have a buy box when it comes to the properties or that you can share, or is it more just?
I really don't, because it's, as you said, it's the sponsor, and I'm finding a sponsor that's an expert in their area, their niche. So it's kind of, have they been in that niche before? Are they bought in that? Do they own in that area? And learning about what it is, and not just the multifamily, but other aspects of commercial real estate. I'm looking for those people that are proven experts. And, then I'll look at the market and look over their shoulder to verify what they're saying. But I'm open to quite a different, quite diverse markets.
All right, I love it. I love it. So then the next question, then it has to do with people, and because even though I don't know, my favorite thing about commercial real estate is people are so friendly. They're so eager to help, give referrals, and help people out in general. But because we have our own unique skill sets, it's easy for me to say, can help some people more than others. Me personally, with my marketing and content creation and automation, funnels, web assets, blah, blah, blah background, the sponsors and KPs are who I generally seek out because they've got the foundation all set up for a person like me to make a big difference. But of course, I'm also from the internet, so I'm also eager to talk to locals. Now, Jeff, you're a fund manager, so you can just go ahead and say that you're looking for investors, I suppose, especially because you got your 506c fund, but I'll let you take it away. Who's out there in the camera who you can help?
Well, I'm looking for two things. The main thing is as you said, investors, people that want to be passive investors. There's also people that want to be, maybe they want to be GPs, but they may want to start out as a passive investor to kind of learn from the inside. So I'm always looking for that. I'm also, as we already discussed, looking for highly qualified deal sponsors, because I don't need that many of them, but I would like to find them in all different asset types, as far as self-storage, mobile home parks, assisted living, beyond just multifamily. And so those are mainly the two things I look for, is quality deal sponsors and people that want to be passively investing.
Oh, excellent. So the next question is how to reach out. Me, it's really easy because I got this distinct last name, and LinkedIn is the platform where I spend more time than any of the others. So that's the place to connect with me. But if you use your phone to scan this code, that will bring you to the FAQs page of 506BME, which is the platform I offer based on my CRM experience to help you document your substantive relationships with your investors and prove that they knew your level of sophistication, appetite for risk, and all that kind of fun business. So that's how to reach out to me. Jeff, I don't know if there's a website or a social media channel, or how should people reach out?
The easiest way is you can go to synergetic.ig.com. That's my website, or you can get a hold of me at jeff@synergetic.ig.com, and you can see the spelling for synergetic in the back. Those are the best ways usually to get a hold of me.
Exactly. And it's Jeff with a J and a double F.
That's right.
Not that Geoff Celtic business that you keep up here. It's just craziness. It's just in anyway. But I didn't need to go on a rant about spellings of Jeff, but because I do have a very serious public service announcement. This is not for you, Jeff. It's for you in the audience. If you've been watching this episode and you've been experiencing searing pains in your eyeballs and like migraine-like symptoms, I'm convinced it's the hideous subscribe button that's just down there, and if you click it, you could you can get rid of it. You just click on it and it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And I like to encourage that kind of behavior, because if enough people do it, then YouTube will actually start paying for these videos instead of me. And I think that would be amazing. And the trade-off to you is it means my videos might show up on your list of suggestions, but you can go ahead and ignore those suggestions, because I just appreciate the fact that you spent this time with me. Just like Jeff, I appreciate you joining me today. This has been great.
Well, thank you, Dan. This has been great.
Awesome. Thanks. Make sure you 506B me. Any syndicators, make sure you 506B me.
Hi.
Oh, hey. Yeah, here's my code. You got your QR code scanner? Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just hold it right in the square there. Okay, cool. And now you hit open in browser.
Okay.
Okay. Are you already logged into 506B me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so there's my video. So now I'm already on your watch list. So when you get back to your hotel, you can find out what my core competencies are and my level of sophistication. Sound good?
Yeah.
I love your hat. Real estate's a scam. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
You too.
506B me, everybody.